Hi, Dave.
Hey,
No linking meetup. You've been stalked by a vampire or something.
no, I was away from the keyboard and didn't get back in time. It was before you can't change the details after the time start. Well,
Oh, I
maybe
know.
you
So,
can. Let me do a check on that. Now that I'm saying that, I think maybe I can. Maybe. Edit, click, paste, save. Ah, yeah, you can. Well, no, you can if it's in my own time zone. No other time zone. Anyway, detail. Well, now if you're going to check on you, I'll do that. Edit. If the group is in the time zone that I'm in, then I can.
oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. The link has shown up on my page.
So that's the three of the 10 groups I control. And anyway, okay, okay. Yeah, I was away from the keyboard and I got back after the time. And Ariel, RSVP'd. We'll see if she shows up.
Oh, well, you can send her the link
I did.
and you
Yeah.
directly.
But she's, yeah, I did both. I messaged her and I put it on the end cam. Okay. Okay.
Oh, she did a talk last week at the existential group
Oh,
on the Roman Empire. So she's been going to. Maybe there's a group that I think I went once that studies Gibbons.
oh. Hmm. 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 Hey, how about wow. Huh? How about that Josh? How about that, huh?
Oh, yeah. I think I sort of watched it. It didn't really.
Not
Uh,
well, this no, the most recent. Hey. Is it possible you could explain this sentence that's in a completely different essay that we're not reading? Could you possibly explain that?
oh, okay. Yeah, now I recall. Rightio.
I was this close. I was this close to saying something. Didn't. I restrained myself. Ultimately, it's not my group. It's Rick's group. But who, who? I think he's going to stick around for a while.
All rightio. I'll have to watch him more closely. I, I, I don't know if he. I can't say he really bothered me terribly much, but he certainly gotten your goat.
We're
It's
we're
curious.
we're we're doing an essay, and then Josh comes on and says, "Hey, can you explain this other sentence that occurs in an essay that I read by Kenneth Smith that we're not doing? Can you spend the time on explaining this one?" You know, you know, doesn't seem to bother Rick. Okay, it's his group.
Oh no, I'd probably beats listening to Phil 10 minutes at a time talking about what I don't know.
You'd think uh, you'd think there'd be more humility. You'd think, if you're a newcomer to a group, you think you'd want to take the time if you're gonna. devote yourself to it and commit to it. Take the time to get into the rhythm of it and be respectful of the other participants and the rhythm and the pace that's been established over the last couple of years. But no, I'm new and I think you should do exactly what I think you should do because it's what I want. Accommodate me, you know?
Well, I suppose he was sort of picking at Kenneth Smith from that. He's just asking for an input on some aspect of Kenneth's writings. I wouldn't say that that's so bad, really.
You're probably right. I'm probably just being a jerk, my usual self. This is why. This is why I don't do a group of my own. This is why. This is why. Because he's Rick's more polite than I would be. Rick's more patient than I would be.
Yeah, well, yeah, Dave, you don't get out that much. Not that I'm pretty much alone in myself. I get out a little bit, and yeah, dealing with humanity requires patience.
Yeah.
I was lying in bed this morning, and it's probably not the worthiest thought, but just a feeling I get about humanity that in general, they're not deep thinkers. And actually, when you try to talk to them, yeah, it's sort of like they can't take much in. It's just sort of like a short gap all the time. But then again, who am I to judge? I make judgments, but it doesn't mean that they're somehow right in some overarching sense.
Quote that comes to mind: to find a friend, one must close one eye. To keep him, two.
Uh, well, I suppose, I was an only child. You weren't. You had a younger sister, was it? Anybody else? Was it just a sister? And how well did you get on with your sister? Perhaps not that great.
I think my actual answer to that question would be to fall back on what Rick has often said, which is you're the worst possible um, judge regarding yourself. The thing to do is to ask others because they have a more objective view of what the situation regarding you is. So I would say, yeah, probably to get a honest answer would be to ask her. Um, any answer I give you would just be
I
biased
didn't ask that, did I?
and unreliable.
I just said, well, how well did you get on with her?
Look, I would say it was all right, but I could be delusional. But
All
I
right,
would
yeah.
say so. But don't bet on that. I mean, don't take my word for it because I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong.
I think as
I
I've
think.
gotten older, yes, sorry, go on.
Oh, I just she doesn't have any contact with me. I mean, that should tell you something. I mean, we rarely communicate, and usually when we do, it's about the trust and family finances and nothing else. So Doesn't that tell you something? In her defense, nobody else does either. So I think that that speaks towards whether or not I get along with people, doesn't it? I think it would. It would have to.
I think what sort of changed in my life, of course, as I got a bit older, I became more aware of my arrogance. You sort of tend to think, oh, well, you're the good guy,
Hmm.
and think too highly of yourself in a way in relation to others.
Hmm. Yeah.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't like yourself, but yeah, you sort of look back and you start to realize how arrogant you were as you get a bit older. But I'm 11 years older than you, so
Ego. Ego.
yeah, I started to realize, yeah, more and more the problem with the ego.
Right.
It's like Angelina, she comes up with some stuff sometimes, and I think, well, it's not that wise. But I look back and say when I was her age, yeah, yeah, I'd be arrogant.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it was probably when I was about 49. I said to myself, well, I could be wrong. One of this slightly older guy I knew, and the existentialists were at a atheist Darwin Day barbecue. I said, well, I could be wrong. And he fell back in shock. He said the only meaning in his life was knowing me and thinking there's somebody that's always right. And now he's lost that. The one person on earth who thought he was right about everything wonders if there could be wrong. uh, I suppose there's a sense of I don't know, limitation. How good can you be a human being? How do you live? What you can do? Uh, what's within your realm of possibilities? I think the problem is that you have an intellect. It's a little bit sharp. And yeah, maybe you could have pursued some sort of career where you could have challenged it. And that wouldn't have been such a bad move. But, you're like me, perhaps, uh, your culture is a good ship Titanic. You see everyone, they bought expensive cabins everywhere, and you think it's pretty good that somebody's built this ship. So I'll just lie, find myself a little spot to hide away in and just enjoy the scenery. And this was Kierkegaard. That was his attitude. And then one day he started to feel maybe he was a bit mistaken in having that attitude. It's pursuing the aesthetic. It's been a child's. It's not rising to more responsibility. That's what being an adult really means. And that's just a realization I got in the last few years because I think when you're sort of doing something which isn't so great or even wrong, as long as you can get away with it, you'll keep on that path because you think it'll work for you. Unless you really do slam into the wall hard enough and it hurts you enough to make you think, well, maybe I haven't got it right. That's most people, isn't it? I think most people will just follow the path that life sort of laid out for them. And as long as it works, even if it's faulty, they'll just keep on following that path. Uh, I'll put this, I think the error that people make is to think that the answers lie purely in externals. I think this is what a lot of people probably have an advantaged upbringing. They had parents that were careful, uh, who encourage their children, and you'll build up, persons build up with more confidence and they probably tackle something bigger. But even there, of course, what they've gotten was given to them. And uh, yeah, it works so well. People will just follow a path as long as it works for a little while. You start to notice things about yourself. I remember how arrogant I was, let's say, when I was 40. I remember when I was 49, one day I said to myself, well, I could be wrong. That was when I got to 49. And I would say that, people tend to follow a path, even if it's even if it's not the best path in the world, that as long as it works for them or seems to work, they'll just keep on following that path. And people don't seem to really learn unless they hit something tragic. They really hit a brick wall and figure out, well, what they're doing isn't working for them. I've just said, Donald Trump, does he look in the mirror and say, is this working for me? What do you think, Ariel?
I think definitely with Iran, he's probably saying that. Yeah. How the hell did I get myself into this mess?
I probably, be not overly unfair to him. I think that was the strategy might not be the greatest in the world, but it was something he had to do because that's that arrangement with Saudi Arabia, that Saudi Arabia would always do everything in the US dollar as long as America protected it. And I'd have to say that America's protection hasn't been that great. I mean, Iran's got its proxies surrounding Saudi Arabia. So you got thanks to Bush Jr., uh, the Shiite militias are very strong in Iraq. Uh, of course, you've got Hezbollah in Lebanon. You've got Hamas, who aren't Shiite, but are supported by Iran. And then you've got the Houthis down in Yemen. They took out Assad, who was friendly to Iran. So, and maybe actually Hamas might be folding. Oddly enough, it wasn't the Israeli bombs that made them fold. It was the fact that the supply of funds from Iran have got cut off. So it was the money keeping them going. But this is really a big issue. If Saudi Arabia left the US dollar, the rest would follow. And that would be a doozy in the world economy and strikingly painful for people in America. They wouldn't know what hit them. You might say you'd have the same wages, but your prices would double overnight. Not that it'd be an entirely bad thing for the common people, because, of course, the extremely wealthy in America get their stuff all made overseas. You know, the trinkets that they have to feed the public with are all made in China. They pay those trinkets as your wages. But if the American dollar folded, well, they'd be in a position where they'd have to rely on American labour a lot more. So wages would rise in America. But of course, goods would become a lot more expensive, your foreign goods and that. America's power would be in a very difficult position because it's got the world's most powerful military, which was actually probably underfunded until recently. I mean, 0.8 trillion was probably just that military ticking over. They really needed to double it to make it into a world-beating power, or keep it as a world-beating power. So I'd say, yeah, I think with Iran that probably Trump didn't have much choice. The world was taking a big bet against the American dollar last year. The big indicator is gold. You watch the price of gold, that's a bet against the American dollar. If Trump's doing well, gold falls. If things are going badly for him, gold rises. So how'd you go with your talk, Ariel? What you did your talk on the Roman Empire last week? I was watching, of course.
Oh yeah, the Christianity one. And then tomorrow I have Rick's group. You know about that, right? Is American Empire in decline? So I have that one. And then I won't be presenting for a couple months. I'm gonna be working on something else with art and philosophy for later in the year. But I'll let you know about that one. But yeah, last week I thought it went really well. And yeah, I got your one criticism about the Praetorian Guard. I don't know what happened with that one slide. I thought I had a little blurb in there about it, but apparently when I was going and changing things, I must have edited it out. But okay, so this is the one thing I'm gonna argue with you about, okay, with the Praetorian Guard is it was abolished in, I believe, what, 335 or 339, right?
You might be thinking of
Well,
somebody else. I
yeah,
can't recall
yeah,
arguing about the Praetorian Guard.
like 100 years before the first sack. So plenty of time for them to recuperate from that. So yeah, I agree, and I put that all kind of under the umbrella of corruption within the Senate and other places, because the other thing that happened was with the Senate, but it was kind of all under that corruption heading in the paper. So what I'm saying is I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. It definitely had an impact on the decline. However, I would say they made the correction of abolishing the Praetorian Guard in time to save the empire, if that's what they were trying to do. I assume that's what they were trying to do in 335. So that's 100 years before the first sack, so or approximately. So I would argue it's not necessarily the cause of the fall, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Ariel,
definitely
I can't recall arguing about the Praetorian Guard.
you
Uh,
just said that I didn't include it in my slide, which was true, but it was under corruption originally, and I must have changed something and deleted it.
yeah, maybe you're mistaking me for somebody else. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, somebody called me out and said, "Well, you forgot to talk about or you forgot it in your slide about the Praetorian Guard killed, uh, 40 emperors in 20 years or whatever it was." And I'm like, well, I was like, I agree with them. I said, yeah, I may have like not gotten that specific with the corruption. I think I just had general headings of general causes, not specific, because I didn't want to go. I mean, if I went down that road of details on everything, I would have been there all night, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that happened. But
Yeah, I can't remember who abolished the Praetorian Guard. Oh, right. It was Constantine. Okay. He replaced it with troops of his own. Yeah, well, I suppose it was the whole project was basically the refounding of the Roman Empire as a practically a new political entity. With Aurelian and Diocletian, I suppose Constantine completed the work, and it was more or less stable until the Huns showed up. But I get the feeling that it was a huge switch. It was a new world practically with Constantine and all that. Things changed greatly. So Ariel, how up are you on John Constantine and the Hellblazer comics?
What was that?
Oh, it's a subject for today is the Hellblazer comics.
Good
Which
segue. Good segue, Stephen.
Ah, yeah. Hellblazer. Roman Empire to Hellblazer. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, and Odyssey. I saw Odyssey with my daughter the other day. It's an awesome movie. Go see it. You're not gonna believe it. It's incredible. Anyways, but yeah, Hellblazer. Yeah, go to it.
How do you know I haven't seen it?
I
I'm Iran and you're an American, so you're Donald Trump. And we're negotiating, and Donald Trump says to me, yeah, have you seen Odyssey? Go and see it. It's an awesome movie. And the Iranian guy goes, I've
oh,
seen it.
you got to see it. It's more like a horror movie, actually. God, yeah, the things he went through. God, poor Odysseus.
Oh,
Cyclops and sirens. Oh God, I'm spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. There's another one afterward because as my daughter's read Odysseus, so she knows.
Oh, I haven't read it. I only did a project on it.
Well, you did a project
yeah, well,
on it.
of
So
course,
there's another part to the story. So there's Bill.
there
Yeah, he goes.
aspects.
So the movie ends with him heading to hell, to Hades. So
No, well, I think he's exiled right now.
Okay, yeah, there were aspects of it, yeah, that was, course, really almost rewriting the story in places. So it was, yeah, it was an okay adventure film. But of course, it's not really reflecting the story very well. Of course, you can go back to the 1950s one, which had its limitations, but actually that did reflect some aspects of the story better. I mean, they had Matt Damon going around as this veteran with PSD or whatever, and of course this wasn't the ancient, very early Greeks who, if they burned down the city, they'd be going, "What a magnificent thing we've done." I'd love it. Yeah, I think Cersei annoyed me because Odysseus had an affair with her. And then she, the one in the movies whinging about how men treated her, it's just, I'm only bad because the world is bad. uh, so yeah, there's a lot of
oh
weaknesses.
yeah, the scene where she turns the men into pretty scary. It's you're not. Yeah, you got to see it. It's like a horror movie. It
Yeah,
really
I
is.
have seen it. Yeah. Yeah, I did watch the movie. It wasn't bad. I found it reasonably entertaining. It had a lot of great scenes in it. Uh, but where they're sort of playing this modern politics with Cersei, I thought, well, look, she's the evil witch. It's that simple. But they want to make her, she's a victim. And yeah, I think the story goes, Odysseus was having an affair with her for a long time. I think it ran for years until he got bored with her. And of course, the Greek story is a tragedy, although I suppose it has a slightly happy ending for Odysseus. He manages to get back, slaughter all the suitors, and then he hung all the serving maids who had been amorous with the suitors. But it was okay. It was watchable. I mean, a lot of these modern movies, you go and watch them, like Spider-Man. I saw Spider-Man, and the only thing good in it was Spider-Man. The villains were a bit drab, I thought. Anyway, so Ariel, what do you know about John Constantine? You've seen Constantine the movie, have you?
No, I haven't. I haven't
That's
seen.
good film.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll go see it.
Well, it came
I've
out,
seen that.
I think 20 years ago or something like that. Great. They have a great Satan in it. The guy who plays Satan does a really good job. Magnificent portrayal. One of the best Satans I've ever seen. I got through 10 comics, Dave. How's that sound?
Well, yeah, we find at long last, it finally took us this long before we got to
The good
the
stuff.
story that they used for the movie. But we finally made it. This is the story they adapted for the movie.
I'm just trying to think now. Well, I started off with 41 and finished with 50. So how many have I got up at the moment? Okay, just have to get 41 and 42 up.
Unless my calculations are wrong. Because I think you ought to be.
I ought to be.
I think I've sent you up to 54. Is that right? Do I have that right? So you're saying,
Yeah, by looks of things, last one is 56.
so I've sent you up to 56, but you haven't read up to more past 50, you said?
Yeah, 50 was the last one I read up.
Okay. Okay, well then I'll keep going. We can do
Yeah,
another
well,
one.
they say you were saying that 40 to 80 is apparently the best of the series. I might give up by 80, but I'll keep on going with what. Uh, these ones are better. I mean, whoever's
Mm,
the guy who's doing it
mm, mm, mm,
is he lays out his story a lot better.
mm, mm,
He picks on having the right details. It's certainly the imagery, which reflects, I suppose, the writer as well. It's more Apollonian. This is a more Apollonian imagery, whereas the earlier stuff was just crazier.
mm, mm.
So, right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, being able to see the covers does help. We're talking about Ennis.
Yeah, well, yeah, I looked up. He was started this when he was pretty young. He was only about 21 or something like that.
I think that's right. Yeah. Okay, so do it the hard way. There we go.
Okay, now this is 41. What we got here? So this imagery, so you've got the illustrator here is just laying out really nice imagery. I mean, some of the earlier stuff was a bit off, I think, but this is very nicely laid out. Well, it's very visual. There's Constantine sitting in the cafe. The movie camera is moving in closely. I'm dying. So for some reason, this writer, Ennis, wants to get rid of the cancer. He just sees it. He wants to polish Constantine up a bit from being, a
Yeah.
total bit of refuse.
Yeah, but you see, that makes a lot more sense if you have a history with the character. But if it's the first story that you've ever seen for the character, you don't get the same emotional impact. It makes an emotional impact if you've been with the character for a while and you know how much of a smoker he is. And then for him to get lung cancer, that means something. But it doesn't mean as much if it's the first time you've ever seen the character. So I don't think that's the first story you should have gone with the movie, but they didn't ask me, did they? So
Yeah, well, probably the movie was following recommendations, where should we start, and I say, oh, well, this was the best of the series, people reckon, was these years. So this is probably the version of Constantine they studied.
yeah, when you've been with him for years and you've read his stories for years and you know he's a huge smoker, and then to have a storyline where he gets lung cancer, that's a sudden, shocking revelation. But it doesn't mean anything if it's the first time you've ever come across this character. You've just been introduced
Well,
to it.
it makes him into a version of The Walking Dead, doesn't it? There was later in the later one, there's the hitman, and the reason he's a hitman is he lost his jolly pieces due to an electric event, and so he's decided life isn't worth living much. And so the hitman takes enormous risks and is enormously cruel. So he's the living dead. He's the walking dead. And with lung cancer, uh, well, Constantine is the walking dead as well. It's funny, just recently, the guy I've known for a long time, he's sort of like a chain smoker, but he's a couple of years older than me. He's got cancer of the esophagus. So I'm a bit, not too happy. Somebody I've known for well over 30 years could be gone pretty soon. He's got a lot of health issues. He's a devotee of that rational behavior cognitive therapy guy. What was his name? Albert Ellis. But maybe he should have taken care of his body better than what he did. He's had all these problems with his posture. And yeah, like when I got to about 52, I decided to go for a lot of long walks. Every day I go for a walk to try and keep it in operating a bit better. You get your body gets harder and more rigid as you grow older. So you're a lot more prone to developing a problem. Well, there he is. Well, this is, compared to the a lot of the earlier imagery, this is a lot, this is a lot cleaner, well laid out sort of stuff, isn't it? So, what's his name? Will Simpson is the penciler.
Well, I mean, there were some good artists during Delano's run. There were some good ones. I mean, McKeon and David Lloyd. There's some good stuff there. You have to go by a case by case basis, of course, but
Okay, so things have caught up with him. Hasn't been a huge amount of supernatural stuff. I'm Astra, remember, from Newcastle? But you died because of me, sweetheart. I got you killed. Yeah, but don't. Yeah, but you're dead too, aren't you? So he goes to meet people who've got a bone to pick with him as ghosts. Goes and sees the doctor. Oh, that's right. He runs in the veteran who's dying of cancer, and he goes to check out the cancer ward. So this is Ennis, is it? His first comic. I'm dying.
don't think this was his first comic of all of his entire career.
Was this the first one he did of Constant Hellblazer though?
On Hellblazer, yeah. Well, he was, yeah, Delano's replacement, yeah.
So he's decided he's going to remodel Constantine as a bit cleaner cut, not the giant loser who we became familiar with. So he's seen the doctor. I'm sorry, Mr. Constantine, it's bad news. You have cancer already at a very advanced stage. It's your lungs. I've double checked the tests and I'm afraid it's terminal. I didn't really listen to the rest of it. He talked for some time about growths and cell death and weakened lungs and showed me charts I pretended to read.
Yeah.
Asked me how many fags I went through a day. 20 or 30, I told him. Well, there you are, he said. And that was it. That was it.
Right.
I just wanted to get out.
Well, I mean, the twist here is we've spent many years following Constantine's adventures. He's a supernatural uh, uh, agent, free agent, pursuing supernatural cases and fighting demons and ghosts and spirits and interacting with angels and supernatural entities and having all these supernatural adventures. And then the twist is he gets hit with something very prosaic and mundane and real world, and that's supposed to be the twist. The equivalent would be if James Bond was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver from alcoholism. That would be the equivalent here. Something very prosaic takes him out. Because we've seen Constantine for years And his smoking is such an integral part of his character. We've seen him for all these years, and he's just a chain smoker. For him to get lung cancer, which has nothing at all to do with his work as a supernatural free agent adventurer. It's funny.
Oi, Blondie. So he's the old veteran, gives him a smoke. Well, I smoked until I was about 49 and then gave up. Well, of course, now there's a lot of this was probably around the era where the politics was getting very heavy on smoking. You know, starting to make up laws to try and reduce the amount of smoking that was going on, sort of make the life of a smoker a lot harder. A drop of the hard stuff. Hellblazer 42. I'm not finishing that. Christ knows why I bought the sod in the first place. The Holly Reed to done lag hair fairy on a bloody rough day, and what do? I buy a pint of lager. Jesus. Mind if I sit here, pal? Fine. Still, if the driver can just keep the boat sort of steady. Eggs, bacon, tomatoes, sausages, islands in a sea of grease. Well, he's got a puke.
You're not sharing the correct file.
Oh, right. So sorry, yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah. I've switched comics without thinking about it. Okay. Audio, stop share.
I've done that many a time. Happened to me many a time. But yeah, it's very unexpected. You didn't you don't think something that has nothing to do with supernatural or otherworldly would be the thing that takes him out. It's breaking the expectation of the audience.
Smoking's a crutch. This is Oedipus. What does Oedipus end up with? A crutch. Now they say the reason he was carrying the stick was his blindness. So he was blind, so he needed a stick to see where to help him make his way. Of course, he'd blinded himself, but even when he had eyes, he'd been blind. That's the story of Oedipus. He had two good eyes and failed to see what was happening. So his internal blindness got him, but he took it out on his external eyes. He had to punish something which didn't deserve punishment, which is what people often do. The internal self that they won't get a grip on. They'll try and blame something external for their problems. Okay, he goes and meets his old mate, Mr. Finn, who has become a connoisseur of fine wines. This was his deal with the devil. So, David, what would you sell your soul for? Would you sell your soul to become a connoisseur of fine wines?
Isn't that the same question as what if you got a genie? What would you wish for?
Well, I guess it is. Of course, Faust had a few things in his agreement that it would last for so many years. He would have youth. He'd have Helen of Troy, and Mephistopheles would be his servant, doing magic for him. But this guy was just content with one thing. Anyway, this guy's dying of liver failure by the sounds of things.
Right.
So he's the alcohol demon, even though he isn't a demon. This is Kit, the girl he starts developing a fixation on later. And he's got the holy water that was blessed by St. Patrick, and he's using magic to make it taste like lager. And we are in Ireland after all. Down with some stout. Have you ever drank stout?
You're asking me?
Yep.
I'm not a drinker. I told you that before.
It's an interesting drink. It's black and it's sort of a bit of a bitter taste, but it's very popular with the Irish.
Yeah. Never started being a drinker. So don't know anything about it. Yeah, Ennis is Northern Irish.
Okay, and here he comes, Satan. Hair standing on the back of my neck, needles creeping along my spine, and the smell. Jesus, the smell. Something wicked this way comes. I'm looking for Mr. Finn just below the wine cellar. You wouldn't think the devil would just squash Constantine for fun, wouldn't you? Why? What? Why? Oh, you're trouble, Constantine. Squish. There you go. That's one cockroach gone. But there must be something going on I don't understand.
Hmm.
Okay, he's come for his soul. And this is the reason Satan's got it in for Constantine in particular. He's given him lager, which is actually holy water. And it fries Satan's insides. Friends in high places, okay.
Just
Nice little picture at the front. And it's got a horse and buggy.
no,
Don't know
I like
why.
these covers. Yeah, I like these covers. Oh, I like them.
Once upon a time, there was a little boy called Matthew. Met him at the fear machine. He was one of the scaredies. Matthew was afraid of cancer. I can see why. Friends in high places. There goes a dog, very nice. It's got the balls hanging down at the end of the dog. Nice, nice illustration there. Okay, a demoness shows up. Hello, John. Yeah, cheers, Al. You know you're probably the only person who could do that to me, don't you? I suppose it's your trick, really. It's okay. I never copyrighted it, fag. You know, I hardly need add that you shouldn't either. Look where it's got you. I notice, thanks. There's no point going all grumpy, John. You're the one who wanted to see me, remember? Sorry, Ellie. Sometimes I forget who I'm talking to. I brought the coffee. Good. Do you want cheese or ham? Okay. Well, she's upset. She points out she's upset the unholy one. She suggests he go and see the snob. And the snob is Gabriel, the angel. And then she reveals her demon face. I think I'm just polite when he thinks good of her. He goes back to visit the veteran again. There we are, Gabriel, very tall, very refined. And Constantine's been a slob. You wanker, you total quiet. Be quiet, Constantine, and be careful. I've not forgotten what you have done in the past, but as I said, depths mean nothing. Stick your warning up your ass too, pal. Well, Constantine is told to leave this establishment. Back to Downing Lagers. Well, that was a short one. How many pages was that one? Only 26. There's a few short ones, made it easy to get through.
Yeah, I just read a comic where the character had spent his entire life pursuing hedonism and debauchery, and he was now in his old age, and saying it's all caught up with him. He's riddled
Uh,
with disease and dying from all of his excess.
so is this fictional story or about somebody real?
No, it's yeah, fictional. It was just another comic I was reading the other day. I'll show it to you.
My Way. Dangerous Habits, Part 4. Will Simpson is still the penciler.
It's always better when there's continuity with the artists. Lessens the impact of the story when they switch artists in the middle of the story. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but it's always preferable to keep one artist with one story.
Okay, he's gone to visit his sister. Oh, there's a cab driver who had borrowed money from some hoodlums. He was in a bit of a fix. Going back to see the veteran again. Okay. Oh, there he is. He's on the bridge where that guy rammed a whole load of people a few years ago. Well, Britain's heading in such a way that the refugees will probably start climbing in the boats to get away from the UK soon. Okay, he's going to do some magic. He's gone back to his some old lodgings, which for some reason nobody wants to stay at. Too many ghosts. Let's talk. Okay. Eight years ago. It's meant to have virgin's blood ground into it, but I know if I know Gary, he'll have just snipped down the abattoir and nicked a pint or two out of the drains. So there's already a circle drawn. Let's talk. Okay, now apparently he signed himself up to the other two of the unholy trinity, and he felt he was dying, so he's going to slash his wrist to speed things up. And of course, the famous foot scene in the movie where the devil's foot was coming down and tripping something unholy. And there he comes. I want to watch. Okay. 45. The Sting, which is pretty funny since supposedly it was based on the actual Sting. You have but minutes left, Constantine.
You're not sharing. You're not sharing.
Oh, sorry. Silly me. I was going to get a job doing the US's nuclear missiles, but they wouldn't give it to me.
Mhm.
Oh, there we go. Issue 45. You have but minutes left, Constantine. It will not be pleasant, excruciating, I would imagine. As bad as a gut full of holy water, eh? You'll regret saying that, I promise you. Yeah, going to send me to hell. I'm only getting my money's worth, pal. So you can sod off. Every minute of every day, I'll kill you, Constantine, over and over. I don't know, mate. You might have to join the queue. Notice how it's getting a little dark in here. Dark? And the other demons show up. And they're all fighting over Constantine's soul and realizing, of course, if the senior devils, the senior fallen all fight each other, they'll just be handing victory to God. He comes up with a plan to stave off the day that they must fight over Constantine's soul. He restores him to good health. There we go, which was in the movie where he gave the devil a finger.
Mhm.
Falling into hell next. All right. $46. Okay. Well, I've been cured, saved from death. What else can I do but drink myself stupid? That's what you do when you've turned over a new leaf in life. Drink yourself stupid. And he's throwing the bottles to the floor and smashing them. Kit is becoming his new love. Well, Finn's gone, so Kit's available. He's getting a ride with the cab driver. Gone to see the veteran who's dying of cancer. But mysteriously, the veteran it goes into a rapid decline. I was wondering about these devils he's pissed off. Surely they'd be going around trying to, doing his friends and stuff like that. What do these devils get up to?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have a way of warding them off? So he's wandered off, being the loner he is.
With enough imagination, you could come up with loopholes and ways in or out of plots, depending on
Next
your
week.
intention of the story.
All right, back to Donald Duck next week.
Is that as far as you read what you have so far?
No. This is
Okay. Oh, I thought you had stopped. All right. That's
you
fine.
should be seeing Hellblazer issue 47.
47. Okay.
So this is the one where there's a lady who's running the pub, the
Yeah.
barmaid, or husband's died, but he's hanging around as a ghost. He said he'd never leave her.
I think there was a Constantine TV show that lasted for a season. I think I watched the first episode actually.
Oh, okay. That's something probably I might have heard of it, but have forgotten about it.
Yeah, there's a Constantine TV show, live action TV show. I watched the first episode.
I assume it wasn't up to the movie.
Well, let's put it this way. They cast someone who was actually blonde and British, which
Oh,
Keanu
okay.
Reeves is not.
That's right. The friend who's got cancer pointed out to me that he watched the Constantine cartoon. So there was a cartoon series based on Constantine as well.
Yeah, but the character's British and has blonde hair. And then for that character, you cast Keanu Reeves, who is neither of those things.
Well, of course, at the time he was a big draw card, wasn't he? You know, he's a big name, and he's going to get the crowds in. And
Like
of course,
casting an American for James Bond or Doctor Who.
he's well, the movie Constantine was not quite the same. Of course, the movie Constantine was a much cleaner, more dedicated sort of a character. As a kid comes up, do you always talk to ducks, asshole? The youth of the day hope the little turd will be a bit more
Sharing,
respectful.
sharing,
Oh,
sharing.
sorry.
Happens to me all the time. Yeah, but if you're gonna buy the rights to a property and then change so much, why did you spend the money to buy the rights? You could have just done what you wanted to do and saved the money. If you're going to change it so much that it's unrecognizable, you would have been free of any copyright or plagiarism. You changed so much that you could have done it on your own. It had so little resemblance to the original. Why spend the money to buy the property rights?
But it worked. It was a big hit.
Hmm.
And that's at the end of the day. All right, the youth of the day. I hope the little turd will be a bit more respectful when he gets out of the pond. Well, there's an idea. If you've got an annoying kid, throw them into the pond. Follow Constantine's lead. Anyway, we've got the property developer coming up. He wants to get rid of the pub. He's already threatened the bar lady. Anyway, here comes the guy who has no jollies. So he's got a bad attitude with the world. Got his Nazi skinhead helper. I poured petrol everywhere, but I imagine that's something that would show up in forensics, wouldn't it? So they've done the stock take and gotten rid of her. She rushes back in. Her jaw was pretty smashed, face was pretty badly smashed up. And then the place explodes and engulfs her in flames. So that's the end of her. Stop share. Okay.
We could watch the Constantine cartoon if you ever want.
Yeah, I saw there was bits of it on YouTube. Uh,
I think it's on YouTube. Yeah.
oh, not the wrong one. When- yeah. Okay, number 48. I've got the ghost figures. So you've got a husband there and the bar lady. Not a bad piece of work, I suppose, the cover. The husband's
Right.
founded her departed spirit. It pretends to be a reporter. Don't you want me photo for your paper then? Okay, got the property developer. Now they've got a dead body involved, which is going to complicate things. Okay, the ghost has taken over the minds of his henchmen and made him cut his own throat. Another henchman's come in and thinks he's done it. And then Kick shows up and grabs him by the balls. Mr. Quincy's a bit worried about Mrs. Collins dying in the fire, Joe. He's a bit nervous about staying in the business with me. Why don't you tell him what happened to Mickey Firth when he backed out of the Riverside deal? I threw him in the bath with an electric heater. That's out of James Bond. And I threw his whore on top of him and his daughters. They were twins, 9 years old. They smelt like pig shit. So he's a charming fellow. And the ghosts are going to get to him as well. And he's going to eat his boss's entrails. And Constantine pulls off the ghosts and stops them killing the property developer. Oh, he meets up with Kid again. As, so what do you think of this? This is rather nice work, I think, illustration wise.
Yeah. Yeah. Very clean style.
Very Apollonian.
Very straightforward. Tells the job. Tells the story. Does the job. Hmm.
Okay, Merry Christmas. Hellblazer 49. Lord of the Dance. So here we have another victim. This comic's full of victims. So we have some sort of quasi demigod who was the Lord of the Dance before the Christians came along. So we know Christians are the bad guys. And Constantine carouses with him. He was supposed to find a Christmas present for Kit, but he forgot all about that. And he calls Constantine a sensitive because he can pick up that there's a ghost. So Kit's been all alone on Christmas Eve. And he ends up making out with her. Okay, last 150.
Hmm.
And it's still Will Simpson still doing the work. So I think there was another guy that came in who Ennis was very, very fond of, and they ended up working together, but couldn't have been Will Simpson. Okay. Been given a sign, he's got to
Sure,
go and meet.
sure, sure.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I need a little flashing light telling me to share. I'd probably be sharper if I was younger. Wish I was that slim. Okay, he's going to meet the ghouls in the forest and meet the master vampire, who wants him to become a vampire and be his minion. Well, the good thing about the evil ones is you can do a lot of nudity because good people don't really appear unclothed. But nudity is part of the world of evil, you see. He seems to be having a good time in World War One, and he preys on people's suffering as well. Well, he's reminiscing these happy days with Finn and Kit in Ireland. Anyway, Constantine's had enough. The devil sits alone drinking his vial of whores in a room where living flesh screams from the garret string walls and damn chant. Okay, nice time. Nice time in hell, as he's mentioning Satan. So back to the vampire, the eternal vampire. Looks a bit like James Dean. Anyway, he's backed out on the vampire, so I don't know where we're going with the vampire in a lot of ones. I think I fancy another 3 days in bed. Yes, one with me though that I, you do meet people who would like to spend the entire afternoon in bed, and I can't do that. I do like a nap. I might feel a bit tired in the afternoon over nap, then I get up again. But some people, both women, said to me, what they'd really like is to be in a hospital bed with everybody else looking after them. And that's probably something I wouldn't be happy with. I'd still have enough of an impulse to get out of bed at some sort of reasonable time of day, I suppose. Although I go back to bed for naps. It was a couple of nights ago, I was getting out these little massage balls and working on the back of the scapula where I tend to have a bit of tension. Sort of work on the tension there and you find somehow something eases up in you. I think it's valuable to breathe as well. Yeah, so I have to look up for breathing techniques. I noticed that. So I'm having a bit of anxiety over my friend, and breathing sort of keeps your spirits up a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
there is that particular breath exercise which they generally recommend was breathe out 4 and breathe in 4. So a longer breath stroke. They claim fixes you up a lot better. Oh, volume 19 for Donald Duck next week.
I mean, yeah, this run of Hellblazer still to this day is regarded as one of the great horror comics of comics history. Still very well regarded. It's a great horror comic.
Yeah, I'm not sort of overly impressed myself. I'm probably just not big enough comic fan. I think probably the one I think back which impressed me the most was the first one I did was Beautiful Darkness. We back then that was during the lockdowns and that there was quite a crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, I'll check out Hellblazer 56.
All right, well then I'll schedule another Hellblazer to catch up next month.
Oh, I'll do another 10. So yeah, just up to 60 will do, I suppose.
Okay. So if you have up to 56, all right, over the next 4 weeks, I'll get you the next 4.
Okay, we've got a new illustrator, David Lloyd.
He's not new. You've seen him before. He did
Okay.
issue 20 and 21, I think. You'll have to go back, but you've seen him before. Anyway,
Not quite as Apollonian as Simpson. Yeah.
yeah, he did a couple issues previously. 20, 21, I think. I think. Have to check myself. Unless there's others ones that I'm missing, which might be the case, but I'll check. I'll double check before next month.
Yeah, 56. So we've got a new illustrator.
Well, I mean, new in the sense of the continuity, but he has done previous issues of Hellblazer. Yeah, 25 and 26 and 56. Yeah, you're right. 25, 26, and now 56. Yeah.
Oh, so this is the last one he did, is it?
No, he also did 250 if we go that far.
Oh, rightio. So there's somebody who was preferred by the writer comes along later.
Sometimes it's editorial and sometimes it's, yeah, whoever seems to be appropriate. Sometimes it's whoever seems to be available. Sometimes the writer does suggest somebody, sometimes the editor suggests somebody. They talk it over, see who's available, see who wants the job. Negotiations. Like anything. Like movies or television.
Well, looking at Garth Ennis.
Garth Ennis. Yeah, he's pretty notorious. And yeah, Hellblazer was one of his earlier things.
Okay, 97, National Comics Award, Best Writer. UK Comic Art Award. Eisner Award for Best Writer. Eisner Award for Best Single Issue. Eagle Award. Irish Comics News Award. National Comics Award. This is just citations like Captain Kirk out of Star Trek.
No, we're okay. I sent you the Hellblazer annual outside of the time you should have read it, but I'm not sure if you
Oh, right, I
got
forgot about
to it.
that. Yeah, probably haven't checked it out.
Not
Yeah,
sure you ever got to that yet.
find it again. Yeah, it'll be there somewhere.
You should have read that after all the way back. It takes place between 13 and 14, which is all the way back then. And here we are in the now in the 50s.
Okay, what's your latest?
Oh yeah, tomorrow. Kind of hoping you could make it seconds. Rock Hudson.
You mean there's a movie tomorrow?
Yeah, Rock Hudson seconds.
Oh, don't know the title. Rock Hudson. Oh, okay.
I'm kind of hoping you'll make it.
Yeah,
Either
I've got something else on that date, though.
uh,
That's in the afternoon. Yeah, I don't know if I want to. It's just too much stuff. Like, I'll be watching David's Existentialist for about an hour, and then I've got to go to talk at a Rosicrucian group, which
mm,
I have no plans on joining, of course. They're always looking for members.
mm,
Okay. Why Hegel? In predictable fashion, I turn the question against itself. That Hegel should now seem to be eclipsed or even irrelevant and passé is not a naive and innocent natural process, but a clear measure of the idealization of academic culture, more and more perfectly swamped by the dementing forces of modern mentality. 2 decades ago, Alistair McIntyre had the audacity to lay out for the public a severe accusation that ethics as a topic of academic philosophy has lapsed into inconsequence and triviality, not because the subject died a natural death, but because it was systematically and methodologically murdered. The preconditions and preconceptions that make ethics humanly and practically possible were exterminated one by one into the sweeping ideological purge in the name of their narrow partisan schools of thought. Academics systematically framed preconceptions utterly inimical to what was required for there to be ethics at all. Forget about morality, which Kant had long ago slain. Who killed the structures and principles of ethics? Academiaism, sophisticated theoreticians. But they did not do it forthrightly in such a bold and noble way as to declare they were working as representatives of a new nihilistic culture arrayed against traditional ways of thinking and valuing. No, they did it obliquely, covertly, with a great sleight of hand that made their work seem rational and respectable. Not the low thuggery of ideological assassins. Modernity has remained quite daunted by the orgasmic, intuitive order of traditionalism, rather than attack it frontally and lay it out in the open. The significance of what it is doing, modernity has to work Markovanianly, subversively to undermine the very preconceptions for making sense of traditional comprehension. Thus, students who have never worked their way concretely through the precepts and principles that made up the ethos and worldview of antiquity or medieval or Renaissance or even early modern thinking will blithely suppose themselves beyond all that, immune to the appeals of what they have truly become incompetent to grasp or even see. The most prodigious philosophical civilizational accomplishments of modernity thus fall into even more the even more prodigious blind spot of the future-facing modern eye. In retrospect, it was an awesome feat. The very idea of ethics falling. Okay. Yeah, well, this is the what the sort of the world of deconstructionism, is it? Have you noticed there's two types of philosophy, and one of them isn't philosophy? And probably Plato referred to it in a certain sense. There's those people who study philosophy and try to learn from it. And there's those people who are on a crusade to change the world, which is sophistry. It's not philosophy. The great one, Karl Marx, what has he said? And hitherto, philosophers have tried to what? Comprehend the world. The important thing is to change it. You know, don't understand. Just smack the world around. That's a lot of people. They think that way. And it's curious because philosophy is all really, its main point is to understand. You're not there to push a doctrine. I noticed Rick slip up, when he goes on his victim bit about the slaves taken from Africa and says, they go there and they capture slaves. Well, basically, no, in general, the white men never went to Africa to capture slaves. If you're a white man running around in the jungles in the 18th or 19th century, your chances are probably less than they would be today. It was other Africans who were capturing the slaves and selling them. But Rick's just got to continue with the Roots saga. I watched Roots back in the 70s. It was a good show, very entertaining. But of course, as they pointed out, later on, you become aware that a lot of it was made up. And he got things historically wrong as well, like how they got most of the slaves. Basically, they just bought them in the slave markets of Africa. So Rick is on his own crusade there, a little bit. He's still a pretty good philosopher, but there's a little bit of sophistry going on there. And the sophist will always believe that the sophistry will get them what they want or get them the world that they want, which in some cases might be true, but you've got to be very, very clever. Well, that was Adolf Hitler, wasn't it? He was a reader, not the deepest mind around. Neither was Mussolini. Mussolini depended on his pet philosopher for that. And, Hitler didn't even have a pet philosopher. So Hitler was out to change the world. And he made a mess of it. That's what the ego does to you. Obviously the message is, I've got to look at myself, and before I want to change the world, I better be capable of changing myself. It's like, for example, I'm overweight, and that's a weakness, really. I don't have to be overweight. I just like eating too much. I note down every day what I've eaten and how many calories are involved. And yeah, I ended up eating too much. I don't have to eat that much. Rather than I could survive on a 1,000 or 1,500 calories a day for umpteen a long period of time and only worry about it when I really have lost a lot of body fat. Okay, which is this one?
So here's this character. He says, I have many problems, Mr. Jones, the aftermath of a lifetime as a soldier and a world-class sexual adventurer for 50 years, the flesh pots of earth, my finger bowl, and now you witness the fruit of my labors. I am possessed of over 70 separate diseases. My every organ worked to failure in pursuit of the beast with two backs. Indeed, on one memorable occasion, 48 backs. Just a comic I was reading recently.
Well, it's a nice work, isn't it? It's fairly nicely illustrated. So you've got a fairly some fairly good artists working on this one.
Don't suppose you'd be interested in reading this?
Desolation Jones. Well, maybe you can do a meeting on it, or have you already done a meeting on it?
If you'd like to do it, I'll show it. I mean, it's kind of, yeah, that kind of hard-edged, um, very modern, edgy Quentin Tarantino type of thing.
I've also done a comic based on the movie, I assume, for Constantine.
A comic based on the Constantine movie, a comics
Yeah.
adaptation,
Sorry?
a a comics adaptation of the Constantine movie, which
Yeah,
itself was adapted from the comic.
yeah. They'd make one that was reflecting the movie rather than the original.
As far as I'm aware, I don't think so. So far as I'm aware.
Oh, they used to do that a lot years ago, I think. Didn't
Well,
they
they
make
did
old?
comics adaptations of films. Yes, that's right. And TV shows.
Yeah, Walt Disney. I think about every Walt Disney movie got a comic book adaptation.
Well, yeah, but not but what you're suggesting is comic to movie and then that movie to comic.
Yeah,
And no,
yeah.
I don't think I've ever come across a situation like that. I don't think. I might be wrong. There have been plenty of things that have been movie to comic, and of course there have been things that have been comic to movie, but never all three in the same project. I don't think. I might be misremembering one thing, maybe. Well, I mean, okay, like Annie. Remember Annie? Remember Annie? Okay, so Annie, Little Orphan Annie. Little Orphan Annie starts as a comic strip and then becomes the Broadway musical and then becomes the movie. And then they make a comic that was based on the movie version of the Broadway musical, which was based on the comic strip. Okay, that's happened. That might be something close to that you're thinking of. Yeah, there's been a case like that. Sure.
I guess it's always a question
Yes,
of
Desolation Jones was written by Warren Ellis, who we have already done with we've done Transmetropolitan, if you remember that. If you remember when we did Transmetropolitan.
No, I can't recall it now.
5 years ago. 5 years ago. And Kretschy, remember when we did Kretschy?
Can't recall that one either.
Yeah. And he wrote Desolation Jones. I'll put it on the I mean, what I'm saying is it's a lot of gunfire, it's a lot of violence, and a lot of swearing, and a lot of nudity. Swearing, nudity, violence, blood, gore. But if you want to do it, we'll do it. Very adolescent. A lot of people screaming and fighting and shouting at each other.
The truest words was from Nietzsche when he said that any man who knows too much can't fit in anywhere. And that's a curse of awareness. Once you start to delve underneath the surface, that's when you realize this whole world, it's not so simple. And you start to notice who people really are and the games they're playing. And that fake confidence, all the ulterior motives. And you realize this whole society, it's built on lies. And people, they're sheep. And once you see that, you can't unsee that. So you try and tell people. But they say to you, no, you're overreacting, you are crazy. So you stop talking. But you're still observing, you're still watching, but you know you don't belong anymore. And it's not because you think you're too good for anyone. No, it's because you've seen too much and you're watching everything, and now you know you can't go back to how it was anymore. The truest words.
Rather entertaining. I suppose being an observer, though, is a passive way of dealing with things. I think that's the trouble of my sort of mind and those who take up a philosophical position that you're looking at the world as a passive observer, and that has its downsides.
Red pill and blue pill.
Yeah, well, where did academia go wrong? Academia started going wrong when they started paying them wages, didn't it? I think somebody said Kant was the first really, well-paid academy. And they made it a fixture, they call it an institution. And in part, Nietzsche is complaining about this, isn't he? I think that was one of the things that bothered Nietzsche, that the academia was full of time servers, people who were just there for a bit of the, how would we say, a wage, a clean job, a bit of status. And somewhere their work suffers. The quality of their work goes down. They're not genuine philosophers. I always say this one where Nietzsche says, they say you can't fathom the depths of a woman because they ain't even shallow. See, and I think really he was talking about, the popular philosophers who get fame and people say, well, they're so deep. And he's calling them women. They're not the heroic sort of figure. Or even Kierkegaard, his ultimate figure is the knight of faith. There's something more heroic than the passive recipient. And yeah, he's laughing at his contemporary philosophers. I don't think he's talking about women specifically. He's using a metaphor and calling them women. They're the handmaidens of the divine Sophia. And people try to fathom the depths of a philosopher, and they can't get anywhere because they're not even shallow. That's such a snipe. It's who would have recognised it though? Very few of them would have recognised he's having a go at them, because he of course had a pension, and if he said the wrong sort of thing, he could lose it. That's what he was surviving on. So he wrote metaphorically. It's amazing when I said, well, I don't think Nietzsche was talking about women. In this case, he's calling male philosophers women. And it's amazing that people don't seem to understand how often that Nietzsche was going to be metaphorical in his descriptions. How could they miss it? What makes them think that he's describing everything straight without any effort on your own part? Apparently, Jesus was supposed to have done this with his parables. So the modern day academia has become a bit of a shit show, hasn't it? They're out practicing politics.
Did you ever read this?
No, probably I might have tried to read it, but would have been a fair while ago.
I like this one. At once, both to ridicule the futile and passionless personality this society has mass produced, and also to warn of the very real dangers to the whole dynamic of history posed by this self-centered creature. A consumer, but no longer a producer of values, culture, and ideas. Quote, a reader, as Nietzsche so scathingly described him. Nietzsche gives this entropic mentality a name, the last man. I always remember that sentence.
Okay, this is Dramas of the Mind, number 2. Yep, got it up.
A consumer, but no longer a producer of values, culture, and ideas. A reader, as Nietzsche so scathingly describes him. I always remembered that.
Well, yeah, the passive. This is a point, and we see this in history as well. Donald Trump of the Greco-Roman era, Ptolemy the Fat. They all hated him in Alexandria. The academics of the Great Library uh, helped foment his downfall. He fell down for a while, and they thought, well, that's the last we'll see of him. And he's back in power. And he catches up with the staff of the Great Library. As far as I know, he exiled him. The chief librarian died in Greece a year later, probably of malnutrition. You know, if you lost your job in those days and tried to go somewhere else, you had to find a new patron. You had to be a class act. And of course, somebody who's crossed one of the Diadache isn't going to find a warm fire anywhere too often. But this was the academics of their day. They tried to play politics. You know, it's one of the early Ptolemies thought, what if I throw all the money in the world at the academics of his day and give them a great library? And there was some good work done, but eventually the academics start to play politics. They've decided that they're the ones that are going to judge and make a new world. And the political leadership see them as a threat, and for the centuries to come, although they can be useful philosophers, it was no longer such a safe world for a philosopher. As soon as they stuck their head up, off it goes. And this will be the fate of modern academia. You'll have, well, another Caesar after Trump, and eventually the Caesars will realise these people are undesirables, and you'll see a vast change occur in the academic system. And they will no longer have a free hand. Those who are useless will be shown the door. And the academics look at them today. They think that they're the new priesthood. And they don't even have a pope. Well, it's the 2 hours. So I don't know if I can make it to go tomorrow, so I'll probably.
Well, if you can't, then I'll reschedule. Seriously, I will. I'll just put it in another day. Not even kidding.
All right,
Not
I'll
like-
have a little bit of a think and let you know.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay. See you on Rick's meeting.
For sure. Thanks a lot, Dave. See you later, Ariel. Bye. Bye, Ariel.
Bye. Hope to see you at some other of the meetings sooner or later. No, seriously, you're a good presence, Ariel. Should come to more of my meetings. Okay, bye, guys.